Last week I gave you an underdog as my hammer of the week and it cashed with a knockout, definitive hammer. This weekend, I'm giving you another underdog. Call me crazy, but we're doing it 2 times in a row and I'm hammering this bet till the limit. Welcome to Lucrative, Hammer of the Week.
Melissa Croden, Hammer of the Week, and she is hammering her. Come on, let's go. Get the finish prop, come on. Boys, this should be it. Boys, this is gonna be it, let's go! Melissa Croden, round 3 at plus 1200. Melissa Croden plus 145 underdog. Let's go! 250 to 3.7k. And you know, we got a lot more money on that bet online.
So welcome back, boys and girls, to another Lucrative Hammer of the Week show, where I tell you the best betting spot of the entire weekend. This weekend, we're in good old Abu Dhabi, where Cyril Gane is taking on Tom Aspinall in a great heavyweight matchup. We got Mackenzie Dern on that card, taking on Werner Jandiroba too, so I cannot wait to watch the card. Pay-per-views are always exciting, but what's more exciting is cashing bets, and that's exactly what I'm going to try and help you do in this video. Before we get into it, please hit the like button and the subscribe button. I don't just say it to say it. It really does help out the show. I appreciate you very much if you end up doing that. So we're here once again in good old Hammer of the Week. If you're new to the Hammer of the Week, it's basically a weekly video I make on my YouTube channel where I give you the best betting spot of the entire weekend. That could be the bet with the most value. That could be my most confident bet. Whatever it is, I look over the entire UFC card and I pick out a bet. Now, please bear in mind, I make 10 to 15 bets every single week. So picking one random bet out is not always easy. I mean, look at my results for last week. So we can see here that it was another win in a week, meaning that it was 10 weeks in a row profitable for your boy and the Elite Zone. If you want to know more about the Elite Zone, the link is in the bio. But for UFC Vancouver, we had Bruno Silva at plus 200 odds in a fight that he easily won, round 3 submission. We had Charles Jourdain in a fight he easily won, round 1 submission. We also bet on Manon Fiorot on that card. We bet on Stephanie Luciano. And more importantly, the hammer of the week from last week's show was Melissa Croden, the underdog at odds of plus 105. We also done Ladder the Hammer, which is a section in my show I'm going to get to later, where we pick our hammer pick, but then we ladder some other long shot bets onto the hammer. We gave Melissa Croden in round 3 out last week at odds of plus 1200. And it cashed. So not only did we cash a plus 105, we cashed a plus 1200. The week before that, I gave you guys a plus 1200 women's MMA, another bet, Julia Palastri via KO. So we've been destroying the sports books every single week. Melissa Croden killed it with the hammer last week, and we're about to kill it with the hammer this week. So without further ado, let's get into this week's hammer. Whoops. Oh well. It's off to Abu Dhabi, boys.
Left hook lands clean on the temple. Level change. There's the shot. Picks the legs and drives him to the fence.
I think I need to pay a visit to these sheikhs. What's going on, fellas? Here we go. Yeah, cheers, mate. Bang. So there we have it, guys. Mateus Camilo at odds of plus 100 is this week's underdog hammer of the week. You might be asking me, James, why are you doing 2 hammer of the weeks in a row, both underdogs? Well, at the end of the day, boys, it's not always my most confident bet on the entire card. Sometimes it's just a bet I like and I want to give it out to you. And that's what I'm doing here. Mateus Camilo, in my opinion, is going to go out there and finish his opponent, Abdul Karim Al-Sawadi. And I'm going to tell you exactly why. I have done the tape research, so you don't have to do it. And when I watch tape on these guys, I see Abdul Karim Al-Sawadi as a good fighter, a well-rounded fighter, but somebody who doesn't do great in firefights and somebody who doesn't do great when he gets hit. Let's go back to his fight against Loik Radzabanov, his very last fight in the UFC. That was actually his UFC debut. And it was a fight where me and all of my guys in the Elite Zone bet against Abdul Karim Al-Sawadi. We bet on Loik Radzabanov as an underdog again, a plus 130 underdog, and we cashed via round 3 knockout. But if you actually do the tape and watch round 1 of that fight, you will see that Abdul Karim Al-Sawadi gets hurt badly in round 1, and he's actually on his way to being finished. In the very first round of that fight, he gets hurt by a big shot on the feet by Loik Radzabanov, and Radzabanov throws a lot of shots at him. Now, at the end of the day, credit to Abdul. He was able to survive round 1 and actually came back and won round 2 unanimously, only to be knocked out in round 3. But I see that fight, right? And a lot of other fights in Kareem's career that we won't go into in this video because I'm trying to keep it short and concise for you. But I see one thing that is a pattern throughout his career. I don't think he likes getting hit that hard. You know, he's an MMA fighter, but I don't think he loves getting cracked on the chin massively. You know, and you might say, James, nobody loves getting cracked on the chin. Go look at somebody like Jordan Santos. Go look at somebody like Jack Della Maddalena. Go look at Dan Hooker.
I love this shit.
Some people don't mind getting cracked on the chin, you know, and I feel like Kareem, when he gets hit on the chin, he panics a little bit. He shoots him for sloppy takedowns. And one thing that I know about his opponent, Mateus Camilo, is that he's going to go in here. He's going to crack him on the chin, man. Mateus Camilo, you might be asking me who he is, because he's only made one fight in the UFC. It was a Gabe Green fight, and he lost that fight via finish in the second round. He got submitted in that fight, right? So you might be thinking, damn, he's only had one fight in the UFC. He's lost in the UFC. Why are you betting on this guy? Mateus Camilo is 24 years old, guys. And I think we're going to see rapid improvements over the course of his career. I'm going back and I'm watching tape on this guy against Dorian Ramos, Yonaski Soho, people like that, right? These are a couple of years ago. He's a 21, 22-year-old kid, and he looks a lot better than he did back then now, right? So I've seen clear improvements out of him. I've also seen killer instinct out of him, which I don't think is there on someone like Abdul Kareem Al-Sawadi. I think he's happy to win the fight via decision. I think he's happy to grapple. I think he's happy to kill time. Camilo is happy to go out there and kill you. He wants to put hands on you. He's very good jiu-jitsu, very good boxer. He's got good dynamic striking overall. I think he's tougher than Abdul Kareem. I think he's getting better. I think he's going to be in his prime over the next couple of years. And I sincerely feel like this is one fight that he finishes like he has done in a lot of fights over his MMA career. This guy was born in 2001. So I'm going to say, even though he came in there against Gabe Green in his UFC debut and got finished in that fight, he was 24 years old. That's a young age to be making your UFC debut. I think he's going to have learned from that. I think he's going to improve from that. And if we go back to that fight, he was piecing Gabe Green up. He was actually looking like the clear favorite in that matchup at 24 years old, making his UFC debut against a 30-year-old fighter, you know, a 30-year-old fighter who is a UFC veteran who has decent UFC wins like over the likes of Phil Rowe at this point in his career. And to be honest, you know, he was beating him. Mateus Camilo was winning that fight. He did get dropped in round one by a check hook, but he still won the latter portion of that round after that happening. And outside of that, he was piecing Gabe Green up on the feet, you know, potentially even hurting him a couple of times. He took him down, he was grappling him, and he was kind of bossing him. Now, he ended up rolling for a triangle choke, right? In the mid stage of round two. And unfortunately, Gabe Green was able to get out of that triangle choke. If he puts that same triangle choke on someone like Abdul Kareem Al-Sawadi, I can't guarantee that Abdul will dog it out just like Gabe Green did. That could have been a second round submission if that was anyone else other than Gabe Green, because Gabe Green looked to be in trouble in that triangle choke. And I think Mateus Camilo used too much energy. I believe that his adrenaline dumped when he saw that Gabe Green escaped from the triangle choke. It was his UFC debut, 24 years old, was winning the fight clearly, used a lot of his energy in the triangle choke. He ended up not getting the submission, and I think he adrenaline dumped. I think the moment got to him. Gabe Green submitted him about 60 seconds after that, you know, so it was a bit of a collapse, a mental collapse and a physical collapse from Mateus Camilo. If he doesn't collapse in that fight, I believe he wins, and I don't think he's going to collapse going up against someone not as tough as Gabe Green, not as much of a veteran in the UFC as Gabe Green, and now he's 6 months, you know, 5 months older. Now he's 5 months wiser. Now he's not making his UFC debut, and I don't think he's going to make as many mistakes as he did in his fight against Gabe Green. So I've got Camilo to go out there, put on a great performance, and actually make a bit of a run in the UFC lightweight division. I feel like he's only 24 years old, and when he reaches 28, 29, I think he can actually be a bit of a player in the lightweight division, despite suffering a UFC debut loss. We know people don't perform well on their debut in the UFC. I think he's going to bounce back here and get a win over Abdul Kareem Al-Sawadi. Boys, I want you to comment who your hammer of the week is this week. Comment down below, and if it wins, I'll shout you out in next week's episode. Let's take a look back at last week to see who cashed big on their hammers. So to be honest, boys, this comment section was not filled with that many great hammers. A bunch of people picking RDR who lost, a bunch of people picking Jasmine who lost. There's hundreds of comments, so yeah, definitely a few people cashed. I want to give this guy a shout out. Reebok Rick 19. He said his hammer of the week is Carl Nelson via KO. Man, that was a tough beat. At the end of the day, it should have been a KO stoppage. In my eyes, bro, you won. So unlucky, man. Commiserations to you, but In my eyes, you won, so if that's any consolation. We had Stephen McTowell saying Bruno Silva at plus 215. Shout out to you, bro. I cashed on Bruno Silva as well. That was an electric one. To pick a massive underdog as your hammer of the week, you're the man. Congratulations. You win this week's hammer of the week. Jacob Grant says Arichi Lang. He may look dumb, but at plus 155, Aaron Karabi. You didn't look dumb, bro. You didn't look dumb. You look like a genius. These are a few other honorable mentions on a pretty tough week, it seems, on the hammer of the week. So yeah, make sure you comment down below, and next week I'll get to your comment if you win. Now, we're not just going to stop there, boys. We're not just going to stop there at the underdog play. Your boy Lucrative is going to give you some props to add on to our underdog play in my favorite section of the show, Ladder the Hammer. So let's get into the section right now. So boys, if you don't know what Ladder the Hammer is, we've got our main moneyline play right now, right? But we're going to add some bets to ladder on to our main moneyline play. Maybe we add the decision prop for Mateus Camilo. Maybe we add the minus 3.5 spread or the KO prop if we're feeling a little bit adventurous. Last week, I gave you Melissa Croden as an underdog, plus 105. And in our Ladder the Hammer section, I gave you Melissa Croden round 3. And that cashed at plus 1200. So we are massively profitable on Hammer of the Week since we started only 5 episodes ago, based on the wins we've had, but also the plus 1200 prop bet that we cashed last week. And I'm trying to do the same again, boys. So I'm looking at it going, do I think Camilo's going to finish or get a decision? Because that's the first thing I need to think of. If I think he's going to get a finish, then we're going to look to some finish prop. And to be honest, guys, I do think he's going to finish. I think he hits too hard. I think his pressure is too much. And I think his slick jiu-jitsu is too much for Abdul Karim Al-Sawadi, who I think at some point will look for the door. So yes, I'm going to actually pick for the second rung of our ladder and our first prop in Ladder the Hammer, Mateus Camilo inside the distance. But we're not going to stop there. Your boy's still going to give you some more props. We're going to do one more prop in our Ladder the Hammer section. So this is a moonshot. We're going for the stars in this one. And I'm going to play Mateus Camilo. Not only Mateus Camilo moneyline, not only Mateus Camilo inside the distance, but Mateus Camilo in round 1. These are big, big odds here, boys. And I genuinely believe that Mateus Camilo could go out there and make a statement and get a round 1 finish over Abdul Karim Al-Sawadi. I mean, I told you, right? In his very last fight, he almost got finished in round 1 by Loic Radzabanov, ended up getting finished in round 3 there. But if we go back and look at his whole career before that, he has 3 other losses. All 3 of them have been a finish in round 1. And he almost got finished in round 1 by Loic. You know, it could have been 4 losses in his career, all lost in round 1. You know, now he's got a round 3 loss. But I'm just going to go back to the well here. Mateus Camilo, in my opinion, probably start out a little bit slow, maybe 1 or 2 minutes. But I think he's going to start getting his range, getting his distance management, and start hurting Abdul, and then get a little bit hyped, get a little bit happy, you know, and then maybe he starts to put the pace and pressure on towards the mid-end of the round, and he gets a finish in round 1. That is going to be my final prop for Ladder the Hammer this week. So yeah, like I said, boys, Hammer of the Week is only one bet, right? Don't rely on Hammer of the Week. As you can see last week, yes, we had Melissa Croden, but we had about 10 other bets as well. If you want to get access to all of my bets and how much to individually stake on every single bet, then go to the link in the bio. You can join my elite zone, and you can join hundreds of other people cash in every single week. I mean, look at the group chat going crazy from last week. And this happens almost every single week, boys. We're up 170 units so far this year, and that is not normal, boys. I'm third-party tracked, so I cannot fake my record. Every other capper is a complete fraud for the majority of them, and they do not track their record on a third party. But I do, because I ain't got nothing to hide. Join the elite zone in the description down below and cash with me. Outside of that, stick to 1 bet a week, stick to the hammer. Hopefully it cashes for you. I'm going to have my fingers crossed. But that is all for this week's Hammer of the Week. I'll see you in the next one.